Hi, it's Dr. Dina Churchill, take two. So I just started a live video. If you haven't seen the first part, you'll have to sort of scroll down my page. I don't know, I had a message that my phone was getting too hot, whatever that's all about, I don't know, but let's try it again. So I was talking about masks and a video I did that I uploaded to my YouTube channel. That was a couple of weeks ago. My recommendations for parents were, one, don't mask your kids because it reduces their oxygen. It's important for your brain to have oxygen, of course. Don't inject them with chemicals because they're poisonous and have many side effects that you're not being told of. And don't send them to school because the school is a government organization. It's corrupt. And I know that, again, because I just shared my story about my license being suspended when I started to speak about dangers of vaccines. So the health department, the media, they're all kind of in this corrupt system, corporate Canada under a crown. But if you have had to bring your kids back to school, so if your kids, for whatever reason, I had a story the other day that really broke my heart, but one mother was saying that her former spouse was going to take her to court because she kept her kids home from school. So here's a mom wanting to do what's best for her kids and homeschool her kids and all this craziness, and the father is wanting to take them to court. I mean, sometimes it's a mom too, but parents get together on this. So the educated parent, the one that has more knowledge about what's happening and going on and understanding the corruption in the government, needs to educate the parent that it doesn't. I mean, they're fearful, and that's why they're lashing back, perhaps. So let them know you love them and that you're working in the best interest of the kids, and maybe communicate with their authority. Because their authority is obviously not God, because God is common law in the land, right? It doesn't mean putting a mask on your kids or injecting them with chemicals. It's really about health and wellness, and this is what we're missing in this current system. But so if it's your husband that really doesn't understand, maybe get him to talk to a golfing buddy or a friend, or if they give authority to their minister or to, I don't know, the bartender, or if it's a woman, her woman's friend group or her yoga friends, or whatever it is that you can help educate them and educate the people around them about what's happening. In that previous video just a minute ago, I talked about the corruption. How do I know this? The Vaccine Act passed in '86 protects vaccine companies against liability of death, disease, and injury, not your child. The Telecom Act in 1996 protects cellular companies against the same disease, death, disability, and that protects the cellular companies, right? We're knowing now with all the cellular technology and the radiation we have in the air, we have increased numbers of cancers. But the cellular companies are protected by this government act, not protecting you. And the Monsanto Act 2013 protects these companies against liability and death for the genetically modification of our food. So they're putting poisons right in our food, in our water, in our vaccines, and they're formulating laws in the government to protect the companies instead of protecting the people. So it's truly a corrupt system. If you don't understand that, you need to research it a little more, so you will. But if you're in a situation where you have to send your kids back to school, in a meeting last night we had with Kevin Annett of International Common Law, we had a lot of questions come up and comments in the group about, concerning this whole mask. And again, I've had so many mothers email me. I'm sorry if I haven't gotten back to you. My intention is in doing these little videos, I'll be able to kind of send it to you and share information. But so if you've had to send your kids back, what's the first thing you need to do is notify everybody of your intention. So when I was giving birth, my first birth was in a hospital and my second birth was a home birth. But when I was in the hospital, I did up a birth plan of exactly how I wanted to go and who I was holding accountable. I didn't want drugs. I didn't want C-section. I was in their system, right, in that medical cabal system, but I was listing what I didn't want and how I wanted it to go. I was taking back my power because I had a plan. Do the same thing now with your kids and sending them into schools. So the Common Law Assembly has passed a bylaw, a safety bylaw for all of Canada. Now, is that like the public court? Is this a judge, a lawyer? People are saying, is it legitimate? Yes, it's very legitimate. And they've passed this safety bylaw last week for all of Canada, stating, again, outlining restrictions around COVID measures and mandatory vaccines. How do we enforce this is by developing local assemblies. So this is what we were doing last night, and where my research has brought me, because we need a local assembly together in order to establish and enforce this law that was put in place. So getting back to, if you have to send your kids back to school, I'm going to post that on both of these videos, this law that was passed in Canada last week. You have to notify. So you give this law to the teacher, call them by their first name. That was apparently came out last night too, really important to call them by their first name, because we're going to hold them personally accountable. The principal, the school board, and if the school board is under direction from the health department, put the health department on notice. So you may think this is a little extreme, but know that the government had purchased COVID test kits before COVID came. They purchased them a year ago. And they changed the legislation. So if you look under the Health Protection Act in Nova Scotia, page 23, they amended it in June 4th, 2019 to include quarantine, lockdowns of your children without your consent. So you see, they knew, the governments knew what was coming, and they've been planning for it. I know it's hard to think about that, so many corrupt people. It's not so many corrupt people. People will say to me, do you think all the MLAs are corrupt? No. I mean, they haven't replied to any of my emails, but I just think they're scared and don't have the balls. I don't think they're all corrupt. I think they have their hands tied, and they're in their own kind of masks and shackles. But so the onus is on you to kind of take back your power, and hopefully you'll set the example for other people to stand up for themselves and for what's true and just too, instead of hiding scared, behind their desk, and hold them accountable. So you have to hold them accountable personally. So the teacher, first name, principal, whoever it is in the health department, Dr. Robert Strang, I wrote an article called Mask Truths on my blog, healthtruth.blog, and I said, Dr. Strang, Robert, Bobby, I will hold you personally accountable for injuries from a mandatory vaccine or any injuries from the masking of kids. Now, I didn't really know how I was going to bring that forward until I met Kevin Annett and this common law. So if we can put these people on notice and we can gather our assembly, the common law trumps this law, this current system that's under the crown. Elizabeth. Oh my goodness, I think that was a mouse. But the current system is under Queen Elizabeth. Lizzie, I like to call her. And, she's the gal who really instituted and paid for the 5G technology through her companies. She's also on the patent for the coronavirus, because it was a man-made virus, if you haven't figured that out already. And I just mentioned in the previous video that, there's been 64 deaths here in Nova Scotia, and 58 of those were at Northwood Care Facility, long-term care facility. Likely they all had the flu shot, and it could be, also because of the stress caused by the cellular tower that just went up, 500 feet from the building. So again, I put them on notice for that. Well, not put them on notice. I asked the question first, and there's no reply. Did the 58 people that die from this pandemic all have the flu shot? Because the flu shot contains the corona sequence. No reply from Health Minister Randy Dolores or from the Chief Medical Officer Robert Strang on that question. But I'm holding them both personally accountable. And if you've had a family member die in that facility, I'd be on that right away. I'd be investigating. Don't take their word for it that was COVID, right? COVID, you know what COVID stands for? Chris reminded me about this in a video he sent this morning, and Corey was the first person to mention this, COVID. So certification of vaccine identification. So this is what this whole scam, this is what this pandemic is about selling you the vaccine that will, again, allow you to be more programmable. What do I mean by that? Because this COVID vaccine has something called DARPA hydrogel in it, and it binds to your DNA. So you will create, they're creating kind of a hybrid genetic system that they can control. I know that sounds a little science fiction-like, but it's true. So what do we need to do? Put them on notice, and then share your common laws, and then find support groups. So I mentioned that just before I got cut off in the other video, but Shannon Mosier is putting together groups here in Nova Scotia. I would call the group something like Brilliant Mothers. I would leave the whole idea of masks and mandates and lockdowns. Leave those words out of it, because the words that you say dictate your reality. What is it you want? Brilliant mothers, brilliant kids, I don't know, whatever you call it, but just gather in a group. The homeschooling idea, great. There's programs, as mothers, if you can get together and have a homeschooling group, you can share your resources. Maybe you can get together and share days. Somebody teaches science, somebody teaches English. And I know it's a big jump, but you know what? Your kids are worth it. Your kids are worth it, because in this system that changed the legislation that allows your school to take your kids out and test them if they have a fever. And they're putting masks on little kids. I mean, okay, so just logically look at this, right? Anyone who has kids will know. How many times are they going to touch that mask, right? So they're spreading germs. They're spreading viruses. It's more with the mask, except now you're reducing your oxygen. And the whole fear behind the viruses, it's hoax. Right? Viruses are dead bits of genetic material that are entering our system because they strengthen our immune system. We've had viruses and bacteria for thousands of years. Not only does it strengthen our immune system personally, but it helps us grow and develop and mature and evolve as a species. They're scaring you. Just turned on Seaside FM on my way back. You hear the same news report every hour of something about a university has now put neon green bands on those students who are still under lockdown and under watch. And then they have to sign away some consent form, signing away their rights, basically, to give the university, privilege to COVID test them. Now, what's in this COVID test kit? I have a whole section on an article called Mask Truths under healthtruth.blog on the COVID testing. That, too, is a scam. Many people will show up positive if you've had a cold or you've had the flu shot. So the whole idea of positive scan, positive test is, again, it's a lie, right? I mean, yes, it's positive, but it means nothing. The guy who developed the PCR test, he says it can't be used to identify viruses. So they're fooling you. They're lying to you, and you're believing it. Those who are walking around with a mask are buying into the lie. And you're contributing to the problem if you do that. So we need to kind of take back our power. This is what we want. I'm putting you on notice. This is my intention. This is my plan. You don't follow it, we'll arrest you. And again, the common law meeting that we had last night, we're learning how to do that, how to put them on notice and how to take back our power. So there's about 40 assemblies right now in Canada. I think I mentioned that in the previous video. I can't remember, but half of them in Ontario. We don't have one in Atlantic Canada. We need you. So if you're interested, you can email me, send me a note through the blog, healthtruth.blog, say you're interested in the common law, and I'll share with you what I have. We started off, again, I started on this path because I'd gone through the system and I'd reached the MLA, I'd reached Justin. I crawled over a crowd of people at the Sportsplex to hand him the research. I got a letter back from his office saying they received it, how dangerous vaccines were, thanked me for my opinion, and then goes ahead to put in mandatory vaccines. Unbelievable. But so I've exhausted the current system. I know it's broke. I know it's corrupt. So now I've just in the last 6 months since this whole COVID scam and no one's listening, looked for other solutions. And the common law solution is the best one that I can see right now. People say, does it work? Well, it worked for Pope Benedict. It was the international common law that had Pope Benedict resign from his position in 2013 for sex crimes, because the papal law, right, they had their own law in the Vatican that allows them to abuse kids and to sex traffic priests and, other criminal activities that happen within that corrupt system. But the international law goes above that. Really, it's our connection with God and the earth and man that's common to all people. And, the Bible says you have two people, I don't know the exact quote, but two people, together, you will feel my presence. The common law says 12 people together, kind of like disciples, right? 12 people together, you can establish a law for your environment, for your locality. But imagine if we have the world, if we empower the world with this information, we take back our power from that corrupt cabal. But we need you. We need you first to wake up yourself and then to kind of wake up others. Not to be fearful. I don't know why. Can somebody tell me why people are so fearful? On the call last night, we had somebody. So this is, let me get back to the meeting first. So Jason, Duff, and myself were on a call with Kevin because I'm desperate to find a solution for all these parents and this corruption. And we thought we'd get together, have a little kitchen party, get Kevin on a Zoom. Well, that word spread, of our private party, and we had interest from Newfoundland and New Brunswick and Quebec and Alberta and BC, Ontario. I mean, we had people from all over Canada on that Zoom call last night. And, the little place where we were in kind of this living room area was packed. And there was just such energy and inspiration because people are taking back their power. They're not feeling victimized anymore. You can feel victimized by the circumstance, poor me, or you can say, what can I do about it? And then you do it, right? So this is kind of the position that we were in last night, and it was really inspiring for me. to see that, because we've been protesting, almost every other weekend for sure since this whole COVID lockdown. And our protests, we're on the outside of the courtrooms trying to make a change, trying to get into a door that's locked, right? It's a corrupt system. It doesn't work. We're screaming and there's no one listening. The only solution is to go above that. And again, it's to get in the courtroom, in making our own laws for our people, and then self-governance. So this is a whole other system. It's a parallel system to the one that's corrupt. And this is what you can learn. You can go on the website called the Republic of Canada, and I'll post that in this link too. But for those who might be listening that were on the call last night, I just, again, I'm not that great with technology, as you can see, but the Zoom call didn't record. So last night we had this great meeting and all these amazing questions, and I was a little bummed out about it. And then I woke up this morning and I had a few emails of people that were worried about their identity, being shared, because I would have shared it on every platform, me. And some people that didn't want that. So I thought, you know what, God works in mysterious ways. That was kind of divine intervention that it didn't get recorded. So, but what did get recorded was an interview that Kevin did with Atlantic Underground Podcast. And that was brilliant. So that's the one I'm going to send out to all the people that were on the meeting last night, and also the people, I'll put it in this feed. So if there's any questions, don't hesitate. I love the questions because I can see kind of where your mind is, and your question, I guarantee you 5 other people will be having the same one. So if you have a question, you can pop it in there. And if you want to add anything, links or comments, if you were on the meeting last night and if I've forgotten to say something, I will make a note of something I want to talk to you about in just a second. So the podcast, and we're going to have more events. So we're having another meeting at an undisclosed location this week, and we're hoping to have an assembly established within the next week here in Nova Scotia. So if you are a leader, I know it's better to have local supports. So in New Brunswick, you had 14 people on the call last night. There has to be a leader amongst that, a freedom warrior somewhere that wants to take this on and wants to help guide and groom your warrior tribe locally, because we need people around you. So again, connect with the Republic of Canada and just step up and say, hey, I'm here to support and do what I can, which is what I heard from that meeting last night. People went in kind of being unsure of what common law was all about. And as we talked and shared our stories and listened to Kevin Annett, it really gave us inspiration that we're moving in the right direction. And I really feel that this enslavement that they've placed upon us with the masks and the lockdowns and our kids and the quarantine and forcing vaccines, and it's really waking up the population, right? It's separating the people who have a sovereign mind, critical thinking, and those who are indoctrinated and programmed into the system. So as some people we won't be able to save in that. As I said in a video at the protest last week, some people, you just offer them the information and then you have to bless and dismiss them. But there are people that are needing to hear this information and sharing it with your people. You won't know who it is. You may lose a few friends. My Facebook page, like I said, keeps rotating. I lose some, I gain some, but the people that stay are people that are pure and spirited and courageous and strong. And these are the people you need around you to stay strong and inspired. Not the people that say, will this work? I don't know. It worked for Pope Benedict, but what do you want to do? Sit in your handcuffs and your muzzle and not do anything? Roll up your sleeves and have your kids injected? I don't know if we can bring this through, but I believe we can. This is the most important and critical thing, is your belief in yourself. Because if you believe you can't, you won't. I think it was Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. So I believe we can do this, but you need to believe it too. You can't put your kids back in a corrupt system. It's like giving them to kidnappers. What's wrong with you? Right? What's wrong? I'm a single mom. Well, get together with other single moms. Do whatever you need to do to protect your kids from this corruption, okay? So my recommendation hasn't changed from a month ago. Remove your child from school. Don't wear masks. Don't get shots. If they are in school and you can't do anything about that and you've chosen that path for them, it's a warrior path for sure to put them back in that system, but put everybody on notice with the common law and share that again with all levels. So not just the teacher, the school board, all levels up, And again, to find the support groups, other mothers that are supporting you, or join your common law assembly in your area of Canada. So like I said, there's 44 now. You can just look at who's in your area or step up to be a leader if you don't have one. So that podcast last night, we learned a lot on that podcast. So we had some questions. Someone had came in and said, okay, what about if I work for the government? Can I be part of this common law? Yes, they're parallel systems, so you don't have to choose one or the other. What about if I work for the military? Yeah, that's fine. You can still have a common law presence and still work within the system. And then we had a question about income tax. So this is the problem. I don't know if I mentioned it in this video or the one that I just got cut off, but the World Health Organization, right, had a 1973 mandate to kill using vaccines. This is not me, this is fact. You can research that. If you want the link, email me and I'll send it to you. So we're funding, through our tax dollars, the World Health Organization to poison us with vaccines. Isn't that amazing? We're actually paying them to poison us. Weird concept, right? What I found out last night, I heard remnants of this, but what is truly amazing is that income tax in Canada is illegal. It's nowhere written in the law that we have to pay income tax. So common law teaches us how to navigate through that system. And we can be putting our money into a system, a common system, that looks after our people, looks after our land, protects our resources. And we can be putting our money into that. At the same time, defunding the World Health Organization. Now, I'm still on, right? Facebook hasn't cut me off yet, but this is big. If you can figure out how to bring the money back into your own local communities to support your businesses that are suffering right now, because this whole pandemic is really to one world government. It's really to take out the middleman, take out the small businesses, right? I mean, you have to put a mask on to go to a restaurant to eat? How freaking foolish is that? Right? Okay, so you go in, you put your mask on. When you sit down, you can take your mask off. I have not worn a mask, cross my heart, since this whole thing happened. I just go in like I own the place. Some places, one place in the whole thing, and that was over at Aveda Spa in Dartmouth. Aveda Spa? Yeah, Life Salon Spa in Dartmouth Crossing. And again, like I said, I went to the Cosmetology Association I went to Dr. Strang. I have them all on notice now. So, and also massage. There was a massage therapy clinic, and I can't remember exactly which one it was. I think it was Summit Spa. And they said, nope, my Massage Therapy Association wants me to wear it, so I went to the Massage Therapy Association. So I have complaints in against the Cosmetology Association, the Massage Therapy Association. I put Dr. Strang on notice that I was holding personally accountable for injuries. This is what you have to do, right? If you want to take back your power, you can't sit and just allow them to do it to you. They'll only do and go as far as you allow them, right? They'll only push until you push back. That's the law of the universe. So if you're happy injecting your kids and putting them in the mask that reduces their oxygen, then I just have to bless and dismiss you. You're not meant for this video. And in fact, if you believe that the system's taken care of, you may as well delete yourself from being a friend. And people say, well, why do you do that? You know, it's because I want people here that inspire me. I want people to stand up for their kids. My friends stand up for their kids. They have courage. They're not going to sit there and allow the government to railroad you. So, yeah, you can still follow me, you can still find the information, but if you're not interested in what I'm saying, just delete me or, unfriend me. I won't take offense. In fact, I'll be grateful. There's about 2,000 people now in my inbox waiting to be friends, so I'd rather be friends with somebody who's an activist and who cares about their kid and who cares about our humanity and wants to change the system and is not willing to sit down and take it. So income tax is illegal in Canada. I don't know if there's any other questions or comments from the meeting that we had last night. But again, I just think, the 30 people that were in attendance, such a core, strong group. Half of them have been at the Freedom Rallies with me for the last number of weeks. In the rain. We are the people, right? It's not the majority that changes. It's a dedicated, purposeful, loving minority that leads the way, right? So we don't have to have everybody on board. We just need to have a few key leaders who are leading with their heart and have the courage to stand up to Queen Lizzie, right? Because she is the one that's controlling all the crown corporations, right? So QC, lawyer, Queen's Counsel. All the corporations are under this one corrupt system. And again, like I said, she's the gal who funded the 5G technology, also has a patent on the coronavirus, and in cahoots with Bill Gates, who's the biggest funder of the World Health Organization. So I know that's a lot of information, but right now they're putting bracelets right on kids in universities, identifying which ones they need to test for COVID. Masktruths.blog is my blog, and you will see a whole section there on the PCR test, how it's useless. Even the guy who developed it said it's useless. So, there's some conspiracy theorists that wonder if they're actually seeding you with the nanotechnology that's in the vaccine, that maybe the test itself, because there was a lot of contaminated tests and a lot of tests that were testing positive. All that research is in that article. But they were testing oil, and petroleum came back, goats and fruits in Africa came back positive for corona. I mean, so the tests are contaminated, the test is sham. And I posted I'm going to post that picture. Actually, it was a nurse, and she went into a grocery store, and someone said, "You're not wearing a mask." And she said, "No, I'm not wearing a mask." She said, "I just sent 40 positive test results out." Oh, I can't remember exactly, but she said that the tests were positive and the kits weren't even opened. So there's corruption. I've talked to a couple of different nurses here locally, and they don't want to go on record saying what's happening in the system, but they know it's corrupt, keeping you away from your family members that are in long-term care facilities. I mean, really, what's going on? So the 5G technology is part of this, because the radiation affects the coupling of oxygen in our lungs. That's why I did this video outside. So you can remember to breathe, and you can remember that the earth has all the healing that we need. The energy, 7.83 hertz Sherman resonance, helps balance your DNA. The trees are giving you oxygen, right? So this is what happens. Every year we have kind of a viral detox, right? So when the kids go back to school, there's always sort of what look like colds and flus. It's actually a detox, because we lose the deciduous leaves off the deciduous trees that give us oxygen. Because the air temperature goes down, it increases the particulate matter, so there's more kind of pollution in the air. So we have lower oxygen, increased pollution, and some stress around, their immune systems are a little more challenged because they're back in a situation. Imagine the stress that the kids are under now. Right? Imagine. They're feeling your stress, but they're also in an environment where there's masks and they have all these restrictions and not allowed to play with their friends. So the kids are stressed. So right now they're going to be susceptible to having kind of immune things happen to them. And what the school's going to do is check their temperature. And again, if you're having your temperature checked here, don't, because it affects the pineal gland, which is kind of your center of control and balance for your whole body in connection to your spiritual awareness. That video I posted and was banned. I didn't have a chance to download that one. But so don't have your temperature taken here. Don't let your kids have your temperature taken here. Find another orifice if they have to take your temperature. But look, your temperature goes up. That's a sign of a healthy immune system, right? Your body is trying to kick out the bugs, so it elevates your temperature. If you're a kid and you're running around in the schoolyard, you're going to be hot, right? Kids will cough and sneeze and have all sorts of things. That's normal. Right? It's normal for them to have colds this time of year. Don't let them fool you into thinking it's some crazy pandemic virus. You know why they had to call it a pandemic? You know why they've this globally, right? All the news channels every hour, new case of COVID. Every time I hear that, I want to tear out the stereo, tear out the radio from my car. Seaside FM, I was like, why are you reporting on this every hour? CBC, why are you reporting? Cases, a new case. Yeah, there's been a new cold case. Big deal, big friggin' deal. Someone else has a cold this week. Oh my God. But can't remember what I was saying. But anyway, it's the media is controlling this whole narrative, and if you're programmed into that, you probably won't even want to hear this, right? You'll just say, "Oh, she's kind of nuts. I don't know what she's talking about." Or maybe you're just too afraid. You're too afraid to speak up. You're too afraid to kind of stick up for your kids. You'd rather see your kids get injured and quarantined than to keep them home and look for a homeschooling solution. I don't know. I mean, maybe someone can tell me. I mean, what is the fear? Why are parents doing this? Is it the money thing? We're already stricken already. We have to find new ways to create our money, and some of that might be kind of taking back the tax dollars that we're paying our government to make us sick. We're actually paying these MLAs to not answer my email, right? My taxes, we're paying the MLAs to not answer me. Now, when you think about that, it's kind of funny, right? Because they're elected officials in our government. We are paying their salary. They work for us. If they're not working for us, we need to fire them. Now, within the system, there is a new party, a new federal party called the National Citizens Alliance, which I really quite love. And they have citizens' concerns at heart. The 5G, the smart meters, the mandatory vaccines are part of their platform in kind of protecting us. So if you're within that system, you believe in it, God bless you. Good luck. And the National Citizens Alliance is someone you should align with. If you already understand the corruption in there and how we can't make a change in that current corrupt system because the Queen Lizzie is at the top, then you'll look at your common law solutions and you'll form an assembly and you'll make laws and you'll learn how to enforce them. So if that's something you're interested in, you can contact me through the blog, healthtruth.blog. Here in Atlantic Canada. So right now I'm sort of managing Atlantic Canada database, but I would love if someone would take over Newfoundland and New Brunswick and PEI, so I don't spend all my time on my computer trying to kind of sort email addresses. So if you're interested in that, the Canada Republic, the Republic of Canada is the website, and I'll post that here too. Please connect with them and ask for your representative in your area to know how to kind of take back your power. This is the thing. Believe it first, and then you achieve it, okay? So far, the last thing I want to say is give you some resources. So this is a book that I've recently read and read it apart. So this is Establishing the Reign of Natural Law and Liberty, a Common Law Training Manual, issued by the International Common Law Courts of Justice. This tells you how to do it. This tells you how to set up an assembly in your area and how to enforce it. It even gives you the documents. And, you know, the guy who wrote this book, Kevin Annett, you know, he's under some attack right now because you can imagine he's not a popular guy, right? When you don't make friends with the Queen, who controls, like, the RCMP, who controls, you know, the governments, you know, you're not going to make a lot of friends. But you know what? He's someone I really admire because he has the courage to stand up. And it's inspiring for me, and it's inspiring for many Canadians that see him. He's has a master's in political science and also a master's in divinity. You know, so he sort of combines church and state, God and man, to help educate and bring a greater awareness and consciousness to our humanity. So this is the guy that some other organizations are tearing down right now, but I would ask you to kind of research it for yourself. Don't look to mainstream, because mainstream for Kevin Annett will be the same as mainstream for Dina Churchill. You will see all the CBC articles, you'll see all the kind of negative things, anti-vaxxer, whatever. You got to use your own conscious, right? Critical, sovereign mind and make your own decisions. You can't look to this corrupt system for your answers. But Kevin organized the first public inquiry into crimes in Canadian Indian residential schools, and that was in 98 in Vancouver, and has a whole section, a whole website called Murder by Decree. So again, what's happening right now with kids being removed from their homes or being removed from schools, they're setting up already quarantine centers. If your kid has a cold or sniffle, they're going to be testing them. They could be then forced to have a vaccine. All this was done to the Aboriginal kids since the late 1800s. So you see, the government has been corrupt, right from the roots, and it's just been practicing on the Aboriginal kids. Now they're practicing on your kids. They're testing to see how far they can push you before you push back. Right now we're not doing a good job, because I walk around and I see everybody in masks. I'm like, what is this? So someone emailed me the other day. He said, that mask exemption card doesn't work. I'm like, the mask exemption card is really just to help educate. Right? You don't need I rarely do I use a mask exemption. I carry one. I think I have one in my pocket right now that I give out. I give to people. Okay? So there's two websites for this. This is a common question I get asked too. So Rebel News has a website called maskexemption.ca, and the beauty in that is that they publish the legislation, the human rights legislation, on the back. So it helps you feel more empowered. But what's happening right now, we're so backlogged in our court. If you were to take it to a human rights court, you know, it could take you a while to get through. So you don't really need this card. And again, that's working in that system. But it helps empower people. And again, if they see that it's illegal to deny you service for not wearing a mask, sometimes it wakes up the public. And you have to educate. You know, I talked about this in my Freedom Rally video, is waking up people. Different people wake up in different ways and at different times. So coming out of stables, I'll give you a few examples because, you know, maybe you can find it useful. Police officer comes to one of our Freedom Rallies just to see if everything's okay. He has on a mask. I ask him if he wants an exemption. He says, no, he goes on. But I asked. Then I'm coming out of stables the other day, and a lady's going in. She goes, oh, shit, I forgot my mask. I said, you know, you don't need one. Here's a mask exemption. Have this. It's a whole scam anyway. She's going, oh, thanks. Takes it, goes on inside. My favorite story is at Point Pleasant Park, and that was last Saturday. was coming out of the park, and there's a group of women, probably about 5 or 6 women, and they all have masks on. And they're part of like a fitness group. They all have the same shirts, and they're going to be walking or running through the park. And I go, just had a nice, peaceful walk. I post pictures, right, Point Pleasant, in the sun, do my breathing and meditation. I thought, do I want to entertain this? I actually walked past first, and then I thought, you know what? The universe put this in my path for a reason, right? I need to address it. So I said to the lady, you don't need to wear a mask. And she goes, oh, she's just putting it on. I said, oh, you don't need that. She said, oh, yes, I do. And she starts to put it on. I said, but you know the whole COVID scam, pandemic is a lie. And she just like shocked. And she then turned. I mean, up to that point, she was friendly, smiling, and then she turned into like Medusa. Have you had anyone die from this COVID-19? And I said, well, no, have you? And she said, no. I thought, oh, okay, we're on the same page there. And I said, do you realize there's only been 64 deaths from Nova Scotia and 58 of those from Northwood Care Facility? Like they had the flu shot that contained the vaccine. And she just starts backing away from me. She goes away, puts back on her mask, and the whole ladies walk around Point Pleasant Park. But, you know, I don't know if she woke up at that time, but maybe I gave her some information that she hadn't had before. Maybe it planted a seed that she's going to start questioning. So this is it. When you're giving, this is what Gandhi says, right? When the government becomes lawless or corrupt, it's our sacred duty to resist. But we can't just resist, because that stagnates us. We don't go anywhere, right? We're just pushing against them. What we need to do is push back. That way we win. It's like a tug of war. We have to kind of push back, and that's how we take back our power. So again, it's gently waking up people and not really attaching to the outcome. I don't know if she will change her mind or not, but maybe I planted a seed that will then grow and allow her to empower herself. But this is what we have to be doing at a grassroots level, because our media are not doing it, right? Our media are telling us and warning us and scaring us. Get your bracelets on if you're locked down, go into quarantine for 2 weeks, you got to put your mask on. I mean, it's bullshit, right? It's bullshit. So we need to take back our power, and it's up to you. So don't feel victimized by this if you're not going to do something, you know, in your favor to kind of change this. And we can do this, right? Believe it and achieve it. So healthtruth.blog, Mask Truths article is an article where I put a lot of the research on masks. The Republic of Canada is the common law website. And this was another thing I want to talk about. So this book has the Kevin Annett, and I was reading his biography, but you can get his books. I would recommend, so this is something I want to suggest to the Republic, actually. If you could put your books in a form that are PDF that people could download, even, you know, have a PayPal button or something that you can pay, because it's, I know the books that I have on Amazon, I don't get any royalties from it. You know, we're paying Amazon. So I would like to suggest that to the Republic. They put the books there so people can download them quickly, get the information, because we can't wait on this. We need a quick access to the information. But again, Kevin Annett, Reverend Kevin Annett, he was also a United Church minister until they fired him when he started exposing how the church was involved in these crimes against the Aboriginal kids. But he also served as the chief advisor for the International Common Law Court of Justice in Brussels and in its 2 criminal cases against the Vatican. So he was instrumental in having Pope Benedict step down from his position. In the Crown of England, Canada, its churches and crimes against humanity. So he forced the resignation of Pope Benedict and a few other of his sex-offending buddies there in the Vatican. So again, this is a man that is making some changes, and I like to see what's worked in the past and how we can kind of escape this tyranny and not be victimized by it. But when I went on Kevin's website, I hope somebody from headquarters might be seeing this, but I bought every book, well, the books that he recommended, because again, when you see some good information, you have to teach yourself, right? You can't depend on somebody else to give you the information. You have to inform yourself. So there was another book that I bought, Establishing Liberty for Canada, and the Manual for the Whistleblower, Hellraisers, great title. Murder by Decree. So this book highlights all the crimes in the residential churches, and he has all the documents. This is why the RCMP didn't like him too much, because the RCMP were sent out by the government to kill these kids, to sterilize the Indian women. But this is our Canadian history. This is what the government does. You have to know kind of where we've came from to know where we are and where we're going. So again, the Murder by Decree is a website where you can find these books, but I wouldn't recommend it just yet. Wait till they get a PDF up that you can pay for there, and you can pay for and download. Because I just got a bill from Amazon for these 3 books, and the bill was $64.96. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. $64.96. And again, likely Kevin Annett is not getting royalties from that. Again, the books I have there, I haven't gotten any royalties from. So wait till it's in a PDF form. So Republic of Canada, if you're listening, get your books on right away, because other people are going to need to download them. We need to take over, and I think this is going to grow exponentially, because people right now are seeking for a solution. I think more and more people are waking up and they're seeing the corruption, but they just don't know where to go. They don't know how to kind of, crawl out of this space. And the common law courts, I think, are what will do it for you. So if there's no questions, I might sign out soon. I think I've exhausted what I wanted to share, other than there is going to be another meeting of the Republic. So if you're interested, you can contact me. Again, healthtruth.blog. We are having Kevin Annett come here to kind of a private group meeting, private function. So again, if you're interested in that, you can send me an email too, and I can help you with that. But we're keeping it low-key. We're sort of screening and making sure there are all our friends that want to know this information, because again, you can see lately there's been kind of a smearing campaign, and when you see that information, about Kevin Annett, or about myself, or about Dr. Boutard, or about Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, or about Dr. Merkovitz, or some of the other people that are really standing up for truth and justice, it just helps you kind of sort who's on your side and who's scrubs. So if they're supporting these people that are supporting you, you can like them. If they're not, delete them. Don't listen to them. Mainstream is one of them, right? Just don't listen to it. Do the information reading yourself. So the Republic of Canada is the website. My website, connect with me, because we're going to have a meeting this week again, and I'll forward to the database. I won't share your emails. I won't share, we didn't get the taping of the video, which is kind of good because people didn't want to share that anyway, but there is a podcast, Atlantic Underground Podcast, that interviewed Kevin last night, and we'll have that up and link, and so you can look at what he has to say and who he is for yourself, and then you can decide if this is something you're interested in. It's not for the faint of heart, right? It's for somebody who really is courageous and really wants to stand up to the system and has had enough of this friggin' government corrupt, COVID certificate of vaccine identification. This is what it stands for. The whole scam is to make the rich richer and to vaccinate you and keep you lower, suppressed, and under their power. So don't let that happen to you or your kids. Thank you everyone for watching. Again, this was kind of part 2. The first video kind of got cut off. So there is a part 2 of this, but I think I've said everything in both videos that I wanted to say. So I'd ask you to take back your power. Be the change that you want to see. Believe it and then achieve it. Reach for the stars, envision and achieve your personal best. And most of all, enjoy the journey. This is Dr. Dina Churchill, signing out.